Chapter 1. The Betrayal. Elaine's pulse raced as she watched the crowd applaud. Every achievement of the company, the empire she had quietly built from nothing, was being celebrated tonight. And yet, her own heart felt like it was shattering. She had believed in Ethan. She had poured her intellect, her strategy, her very life into his success. Every deal, every merger, every risk had been hers long before anyone realized it. And tonight, she thought she would finally be acknowledged. But the spotlight shifted. Ethan stepped forward, confident, charming, his smile carefully constructed for maximum effect. The room quieted, hanging on his words. Elaine's stomach twisted as he raised his glass, then smiled at her sister. "Vivian," he said, voice smooth and deliberate, "you've always been the one who challenges me, who understands me in ways no one else can. I'm proud to announce our engagement." Time stopped. The applause was deafening, but to Elaine, it sounded like a mocking echo. Her chest tightened. The room blurred around her. She had trusted him with her heart, with her brilliance, with everything. And in the span of a sentence, he had thrown it all away for her own sister. Vivian's eyes sparkled with triumph, the kind of victory that comes from long-suppressed envy finally given free rein. Her smile was cruel in its sweetness, as if she had been waiting for this moment all along. Elaine's fingers trembled around her glass, the liquid inside untouched, reflecting the harsh lights like shards of broken glass. Ethan caught Elaine's gaze, just for a moment. A flicker of guilt crossed his face, fast and almost invisible, but it was enough. Elaine felt it. And yet, he didn't reach for her. He didn't apologize. He didn't explain. He had already made his choice. Anger surged, raw and scorching. She wanted to scream, to lash out, to reveal all the secrets she had kept hidden in the shadows, the countless nights she had spent orchestrating deals, maneuvering competitors, building the empire he now paraded as his own. Every success he claimed, every accolade he received, she had made possible. And still, he had chosen Vivian over her. Elaine turned sharply, leaving the banquet hall before anyone could stop her. Her mind raced. There was no time for tears, no time for self-pity. Humiliation had been dealt, but revenge would be hers. She would not be a pawn in Ethan's games. She would not allow him to thrive while she was discarded. She reached for her phone and called the one person who could match her intellect with ambition, the one who could help her strike back without hesitation. Damien answered almost immediately. "Elaine," he said, his voice low and measured. "You sound dangerous." "I am," she replied, her tone calm, but every word carried the weight of a storm. "And I need your help. Ethan thinks he's untouchable. I'm about to prove he isn't." There was silence for a moment, and then a slow, almost predatory chuckle. "I've been waiting for you to call," Damien said. "Let's burn his empire to the ground." The words sent a shiver down her spine. It wasn't just revenge she was craving anymore, it was power. Every slight, every betrayal, every whispered doubt she had endured now fueled a fire she had never known she could wield. And Damien understood it. He didn't flinch, didn't lecture, didn't try to temper her wrath. He amplified it. Later, in the quiet of her apartment, Elaine reviewed every move Ethan had made in the last year. Boardroom manipulations, investor leaks, market rumors, all visible to someone who knew where to look. She had been invisible to him, a ghost powering his rise, but she would turn that invisibility into weaponized precision. Damien's connections could amplify her reach. Together, they would dismantle him piece by piece. Her phone buzzed. A message from Vivian. "Congratulations on the engagement, Elaine. Isn't it exciting to finally be free from all that responsibility?" Elaine's lips curled into a cold smile. Responsibility. That word had never applied to Vivian. She had done nothing to earn anything in her life, yet here she stood, basking in a glory that belonged to Elaine. But that smile was temporary, and soon it would fade. Very soon. The next day, Elaine confronted Ethan privately. He looked different when stripped of the stage. The cameras, the applause, vulnerable, human. There was still that dangerous charm, the one that had drawn her in months ago, but now it was tainted with desperation. "Elaine, he started, his eyes searching hers for something he couldn't name. "You chose her," Elaine said softly, cutting him off. Her voice was steady, Controlled, lethal. And you didn't even hesitate. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. Didn't mean? Elaine's laugh was sharp, bitter. Don't tell me you didn't mean to destroy everything we built. Don't tell me you didn't plan to humiliate me. Don't you dare give me excuses. His eyes softened for a brief moment, regret flickering, but it wasn't enough. Elaine turned and left, leaving him standing in the cold office, staring after her as if he had just glimpsed the storm he had provoked. That night, Elaine met Damien in his office. The tension between them was palpable, charged with ambition and something unspoken, dangerous, thrilling. She laid out her plan, detailing Ethan's vulnerabilities, his overconfidence, his blind spots. Damien listened, nodding, calculating, a smile creeping at the corners of his mouth. Exactly what I would have done, he said finally. And now, we make him pay. Elaine's heart pounded not from fear, not from love, but from the intoxicating thrill of power and the promise of vengeance. Every glance at Damien felt like an unspoken challenge. Together, they would not only humiliate Ethan, but they would strip him of everything he had ever stolen from her. As she left Damien's office that night, Elaine knew one thing with absolute certainty. She was no longer the woman who quietly built his empire. She was the storm about to break. And Ethan, he had no idea what was coming. The final image lingered. Elaine's determined face, Damien's calculating smirk, and Ethan obliviously smiling at the world, unaware that the empire he thought was untouchable was already slipping through his fingers. The screen cuts to black. Elaine whispers to herself, "Let the game begin." Chapter 2. The Revenge Plan. Elaine's mind raced as she stared at the reports spread across Damien's office. Every move Ethan had made over the last year was visible to her now. Every weakness exposed by the very empire he believed was untouchable. She had been invisible, the silent architect behind his success, and now she was about to turn that invisibility into his undoing. Damien watched her, quiet, letting her speak first, letting her ignite the storm. Every investor he's convinced to stay loyal, every deal he's celebrated as his own, it was me, she said, voice sharp, measured. I built it all, and he thought he could betray me without consequence. Damien leaned back in his chair, a slow smile forming. He underestimated you, he said. That's his first mistake. His second, he underestimated me. Together, we'll make him regret every choice. Elaine's pulse quickened. This wasn't just about revenge. This was about reclaiming what was rightfully hers. Every slip, every miscalculation, every overconfidence Ethan had shown would be used against him. And Vivian. Elaine's eyes narrowed. Her sister's smug victory, her pregnancy, her arrogance, all of it would crumble under the weight of the truth. The first move was subtle. Leaks, rumors, whispers of poor financial decisions, strategic missteps, all carefully planted in the right places. Elaine had learned how to manipulate the market, how to turn perception into power, and she wielded it like a scalpel. Ethan began to notice. He called her, hesitated, demanded explanations. Each conversation felt like a chess match, each word a test of dominance. Elaine, what's happening? Everything's falling apart, he said one evening, desperation threading through his normally confident tone. You'll find out soon enough, Elaine replied calmly, almost gently. But the calmness was a lie. Inside, her satisfaction burned bright. He was watching his empire wobble, and he didn't even know who was pushing the pieces. Damien worked alongside her, a shadow and a shield, his presence both reassuring and dangerous. Their forbidden attraction simmered beneath the surface, every glance charged, every touch accidental yet electric. They had an understanding. Focus on the plan, suppress the desire. But suppression was becoming impossible. The air between them was thick with unspoken tension, a silent acknowledgement that the stakes were as much personal as professional. As the days passed, Elaine's plans grew bolder. Public slips, subtle sabotage during meetings, rumors carefully leaked to the press. Ethan's control weakened, but he fought back fiercely, his pride warring with the creeping panic. Every encounter with him reignited old emotions. Love, desire, frustration, but Elaine refused to let them control her. She had a purpose now, and it was sharp, precise, unrelenting. Then, the secret surfaced. Elaine discovered Vivian's pregnancy wasn't Ethan's. The news hit like a lightning strike, illuminating a vulnerability no one had seen before. Suddenly, the sister who had seemed untouchable was exposed, a weakness that could be exploited. The revelation added a new layer to Elaine's plan. The betrayal was deeper than she had imagined, and the stakes were higher than she had anticipated. "Vivian's lying," Elaine whispered to Damien one night, eyes alight with determination. "She's holding on to something that could destroy them both, and soon, everyone will see the truth." Damien's smile was slow, predatory. "Perfect! Let's make sure the world watches her fall." The thrill of the plan, of power, of revenge, coursed through Elaine. She had never felt more alive. Every sleepless night, every calculated move, every secret meeting with Damien reinforced that she was no longer a victim. She was a storm, gathering strength, ready to strike. But even storms have moments of vulnerability. Alone, Elaine stared at the city lights, and a twinge of doubt cut through her resolve. Ethan's memory lingered the charm, the warmth, the flashes of honesty she had once believed in. She shook it off. Those memories were weapons too, tools she could wield to manipulate him, to keep him off balance. Emotion and strategy intertwined. Desire became leverage, longing became ammunition. The tension between Damien and Elaine reached a boiling point during a late-night strategy session. Their hands brushed over documents, eyes locking, breaths shallow. "Careful," Damien murmured, voice low. "Focus on him, not me." Elaine's lips curved into a knowing smirk. "I always focus on the target," she said, though her heart betrayed her with a quickened beat. It was a delicate dance. Every move had to be precise, every emotion contained. The world outside Damien's office didn't know the war that had begun, the silent, invisible war that would topple an empire. Elaine knew it would be messy, ruthless, and unforgiving, but she thrived in chaos. She had survived betrayal before. She would survive it again, stronger, smarter, sharper. Weeks passed, and Ethan's confidence wavered. Board meetings became battlegrounds, investors questioned decisions, and whispers of instability grew louder. Elaine watched from the shadows, satisfaction mingling with anticipation. The empire that had once been his alone was slipping, piece by piece, into her grasp. And yet, danger loomed. Vivian remained a wild card, unpredictable, her lies threatening to unravel the careful web Elaine had woven. Elaine's instincts told her that timing was everything. Reveal too early, and Ethan could rally. Wait too long, and Vivian might escape exposure. Every decision carried immense weight. Every second counted. Finally, Elaine prepared the first public strike. A subtle leak, a hint of scandal involving Ethan's mismanagement, would set the industry buzzing. The tension in her chest was unbearable, but she thrived on it. Damien watched her, unwavering, knowing exactly how far to push, when to guide, when to let her storm rage. As the first wave hit, Elaine received an anonymous tip confirming her suspicions about Vivian's pregnancy. The truth would surface, sooner or later. And when it did, Elaine would be ready. She looked at Damien, eyes fierce, determination unyielding. "Everything starts now," she said, barely a whisper. The screen lingers on Elaine's face, a mix of fire and resolve. Damien's calculating smirk mirrors her intensity. In the shadows, Ethan remains oblivious to the storm closing in around him. Elaine glances at a confidential report and murmurs, "He thinks he's winning, but he has no idea what's coming." Chapter 3. The War Begins. Elaine's pulse thundered as she walked into the gala, every eye on her, every whisper a testament to the storm she had become. This was no ordinary evening. This was the battlefield where she would humiliate Ethan, expose Vivian, and reclaim the empire he had stolen from her. Damien's presence behind her was steady, unwavering, a shield against the chaos she intended to unleash. Every step felt like fire, every glance a warning to those who had doubted her. The crowd erupted in polite applause, but Elaine heard only the silence of anticipation, the quiet before destruction. Ethan stood across the room, holding Vivian close, oblivious to the trap that had been meticulously laid. His eyes flickered toward her for just a second hesitation. Panic, desire, but it was too late. Elaine had anticipated every move, every instinct, every emotional weakness. The first wave hit. Investors and board members began whispering, their eyes darting between Ethan and the carefully planted leaks Elaine had orchestrated. Rumors of financial missteps, questionable acquisitions, and strategic blunders spread like wildfire. Each murmur was a scalpel cutting through the facade Ethan had built with her guidance. He felt it immediately, his confidence faltering as he realized the empire he had claimed as his own was crumbling beneath him. Vivian sensed the shift too, her smugness waning as whispers of her lies and the truth about her pregnancy began to circulate. Elaine's lips curved into a thin, victorious smile. She had exposed the fragility of the sister who had dared to betray her, revealing the cracks that had been hidden behind smiles and false loyalty. Ethan approached, his gait hesitant, every step a struggle between pride and desperation. "Elaine, what are you doing?" His voice trembled, betraying the first hint of fear she had seen in months. "Restoring balance," Elaine replied, voice low, precise, lethal. Every word was designed to wound, to assert control, to remind him that she was the one who had built everything he had ever claimed. Their eyes locked, a clash of old desires and new grudges. Every glance was charged with the tension of passion and hatred intertwined. Ethan's hand twitched, yearning to reach for her, to reclaim what he had lost, but Elaine remained untouchable, her resolve unbreakable. Every inch of his longing only strengthened her. Damien stepped closer, an unspoken protector, his presence both grounding and electrifying. Elaine felt the tension ripple between them, the forbidden pull that neither dared acknowledge in full. But tonight, there was no time for hesitation, no room for distraction. Their chemistry simmered beneath every calculated move, fueling the intensity of the moment. Elaine moved with precision. Each reveal, each accusation, each hint of scandal was timed to perfection. Ethan's face paled as investors began questioning his decisions, as colleagues whispered doubts, as Vivian's secret began to unravel. Panic gripped him, a stark contrast to the controlled arrogance he had once worn so effortlessly. Elaine's satisfaction was tempered by a fleeting pang. There was still a flicker of the man she had once loved hidden beneath the ruins of betrayal. The whispers turned to murmurs, the murmurs to gasps, and the gasps to outright shock. Vivian's pregnancy secret leaked, confirmed by sources she could not control. The sister who had once stood above Elaine now trembled under the weight of exposure. Every lie, every manipulation, every attempt to seize power was crumbling. Elaine's smile widened. She was winning. Yet the personal stakes were not over. Ethan cornered her later in a private room, his desperation palpable, his eyes burning with the intensity of emotions he could no longer mask. "Elaine, I still love you," he confessed, voice raw with regret and longing. Elaine's gaze was icy, unwavering, lethal in its precision. "Love? You made your choice," she said, each word deliberate, cutting deeper than any public humiliation. "And now you face the consequences." "But I never stopped. He began, pleading, reaching out, but she stepped back, untouchable, untamed. Every movement was deliberate, a message. She was no longer his to claim, no longer vulnerable to his charm. Her heart twisted at the memory of what had been, but the steel beneath it ensured she could not falter. The gala ended with whispers, rumors, and a sense of chaos that Elaine had orchestrated perfectly. Ethan's empire, once secure, now teetered on the edge. Vivian's betrayal had been revealed to the world. Damien's eyes met Elaine's across the room, a silent acknowledgement of the precision of their plan and of the dangerous, forbidden spark that continued to ignite between them. Elaine felt the rush of victory tempered by anticipation. This was not the final move, it was a demonstration of power, a warning that the storm had only just begun. Every strategic step, every emotional maneuver, every calculated exposure had drawn them closer to the ultimate confrontation. Back in the quiet of Damien's office, Elaine reviewed the fallout, the messages, the whispers of speculation now dominating conversations and headlines. The industry was abuzz, Ethan's credibility shaken, Vivian's lies exposed, and Elaine's power undeniable. And yet, she knew the danger was far from over. Pride, anger, desperation, they were volatile, unpredictable, and could turn against her if she miscalculated. Damien's voice broke the silence. "You're unstoppable when you want to be." Elaine allowed herself a brief, almost imperceptible smile. "We're just getting started," she said, and the words were heavy with promise, with threat, with the thrill of power reclaimed. Her phone buzzed with another tip. Ethan was rallying allies, desperate to salvage what remained. A calculated response would ensure he never recovered. Elaine's mind raced, plotting the next strike, the next wave, The next piece of the empire he had taken from her, every move would bring her closer to total reclamation, and closer to confronting the lingering, dangerous pull Ethan still had over her heart. She thought of Damien, steady, loyal, magnetic in a way that made her pulse quicken. There was desire there, undeniable, a dangerous addition to an already combustible mix. She could not ignore it, but she would not let it interfere. Not yet. First, she would finish what she started. Then, perhaps, she would allow herself the indulgence of forbidden attraction, of passion tempered by mutual respect and ambition. The night ended with a final, tense encounter. Ethan's eyes followed her as she left the building, haunted by the realization that the woman he had betrayed was now orchestrating his downfall. Every whispered doubt, every calculated move, every rumor he could not control was part of Elaine's grand design. He still desired her. He still loved her. But his feelings were irrelevant. She was untouchable, unstoppable, the storm he had summoned through his own betrayal. The screen lingers on Elaine's face, her expression a perfect blend of satisfaction, determination, and a hint of the dangerous simmering passion she shared with Damien. Ethan is left in the shadows, desperate, powerless, and unprepared for the next strike. Elaine's phone buzzes again. She glances at the message, her eyes narrowing. He thinks he's fighting back, but he's already lost. Chapter 4. The Reclamation. Elaine stood at the entrance of the boardroom, every eye turning toward her, as if they could sense the storm she carried within. This was the moment she had been building toward, the moment to reclaim the empire she had quietly constructed, to finally take back everything Ethan had stolen, and to assert herself as untouchable. Damien was behind her, calm, steady, a presence that grounded her yet added a spark she couldn't ignore. They had fought, planned, and strategized together, and now it was time to strike. Ethan sat at the head of the table, the facade of control faltering. He had recovered from the public humiliation, rebuilt some semblance of authority, but Elaine had studied his every weakness, memorized his every misstep. Tonight, there would be no recovery. Tonight, she would make him powerless. "Elaine, what are you doing here?" he asked, his voice carrying a mix of disbelief, fear, and that faint, dangerous longing that had always made her hesitate. She smiled, a thin, sharp expression, controlled and precise. "I'm finishing what you tried to claim as your own," she said, her tone quiet but lethal. "Everything you built on my work, on my trust. It's mine again." The board members shifted, murmuring. Damien handed her the documents she had prepared, detailing every failure Ethan had attempted to cover, every misstep he had tried to spin as success. It was meticulous, undeniable, and devastating. As she laid them on the table, she watched Ethan's face tighten. Pride and desperation warred behind his eyes. Vivian sat beside him, her composure cracking as whispers reached her ears. The secret of her pregnancy, the truth she had tried to bury, was now common knowledge. The empire she had hoped to inherit without effort was crumbling around her. Elaine felt a flicker of satisfaction. This was not merely revenge, it was justice. Ethan tried to speak, to defend himself, to reclaim some fragment of authority, but every argument fell flat. Elaine anticipated every word, countered every justification, and in the process, demonstrated the precision and brilliance he had so casually dismissed. Board members, once loyal to Ethan's charisma, now questioned his competence, his decisions, his judgment. The empire he had taken for granted was slipping from his grasp. Damien's presence was constant and electric. He leaned slightly toward Elaine during a tense pause, a silent acknowledgement of the partnership that had carried them through this storm. There was desire there, undeniable, but it was tempered by mutual respect and shared purpose. Every glance between them crackled with tension, the thrill of victory amplified by the forbidden attraction neither could fully deny. Finally, Elaine addressed Ethan directly. "You built nothing without me," she said, her voice carrying across the room like a whip. "Every deal, every acquisition, every success, my mind, my effort, my vision. And you treated it like it didn't matter. Like I didn't matter." Ethan's jaw tightened. His eyes were dark, conflicted, a mix of shame, lingering longing, and frustration. "Elaine, You made your choice," she interrupted. "And now you face the consequences." The room held its breath as she completed the final steps of her takeover. Damien facilitated, providing strategic guidance, securing alliances, and ensuring that every move was irreversible. Ethan could plead, could argue, could beg, but the tide had turned. The Empire was no longer his to command. Elaine reclaimed her rightful place, her authority undeniable, her power absolute. Vivian's eyes widened in panic. Every whispered conversation, every leaked secret, every carefully orchestrated revelation left her exposed, powerless, humiliated. The sister who had thought herself untouchable now crumbled under the weight of her own deceit. Elaine watched her carefully, savoring the justice, but not allowing herself to linger. The moment was about reclamation, not indulgence. Ethan's voice broke the silence. Low, raw, and honest. Elaine, I never stopped. I never stopped wanting you. Elaine met his gaze, unflinching. The man who had betrayed her, humiliated her, underestimated her, still desired her, but the desire was no longer hers to entertain. She was stronger, untouchable, no longer defined by him. That doesn't matter anymore, she said, each word deliberate. You had your chance. You lost it. Damien stepped closer, a reassuring and protective presence, and Elaine allowed herself a moment of quiet relief. He had been by her side through every plan, every calculated move, every dangerous risk. Together, they had turned betrayal into triumph. And now, that partnership had evolved into something undeniable, something genuine. The storm of their combined ambition had forged a connection neither could ignore. Elaine and Damien left the boardroom together. Investors, board members, and colleagues whispered behind them, some in admiration, some in awe, all recognizing that power had a new owner. The empire Elaine had built in secret, nurtured in shadows, and defended through strategy and brilliance was now fully hers. Outside the building, Damien glanced at Elaine, eyes filled with something more than admiration, desire, respect, and an unspoken promise. You were unstoppable, he said softly. Elaine allowed herself a rare, full smile, the tension finally easing. Not just unstoppable, untouchable. Their hands brushed, lightly at first, then with an acknowledgement of the bond forged in fire and ambition. It was no longer just about revenge. It was about partnership, trust, and a love tempered by respect and shared triumph. Ethan watched from a distance, powerless, desperate, and fully aware that the woman he had betrayed was now untouchable, triumphant, and beyond his reach. Vivian's humiliation added a final bitter edge to the scene. Every betrayal, every misstep, every lie had been repaid in full. Elaine stood tall, Damien at her side, the empire she had created shining as a testament to her brilliance, resilience, and strategic mind. The storm she had become had claimed victory, justice, and the love she had earned on her own terms. Elaine turned to Damien, eyes bright, heart steady, voice low but certain. This is only the beginning. For us. For the Empire. For everything we deserve. The screen fades on her triumphant expression. The calm after the storm, and the sense that power, love, and justice had all been reclaimed.